It is 6 o'clock in the morning. I also have a meeting in like half an hour, so let's just do this. Let's get this interview prepped. I just made a video about my Harvard admissions file. I actually got a bunch of you messaging me that your interviews were coming up, and so I wanted to do my best to give you some advice about how to ace your interviews, and I'm committed to helping you help yourself. So help me help you help yourself by subscribing. No? Yes? And also like the video. So let's just get right into it. So first things first, why is the interview important? Well, the interview is really important because it adds to your application in a large way. Again, if you haven't checked out my admissions file video, do that now or at the end of this video. Not because I'm trying to self-promote myself, but obviously I am trying to self-promote myself. Let's not lie. But because I really feel like it's important for you guys to see just how much comes from the interview. Your interviewer is going to end up writing this huge report about you. It's going to be split into overall rating, personal rating, extracurricular rating, academic rating. This is the only time in your application that you're going to be talked about as a human being. And that is why the interview is really important, for you to put your best foot forward and to show that everything that's in the application is true. You're passionate, you're genuine, and you want to be at the school. Please, please, please do the interview. I know in some areas they don't have interviewers, but especially now in the digital age, they'll probably offer you at least a Zoom interview. So I would definitely do it. You're probably wondering, well, how do I know if I even have an interview? The interviewer is going to email you. They'll usually say something like this. And so the first thing I would say is respond to the email. I know that emails are kind of stressful for a lot of people. I'm also one of those people who, when I get a bigger email, I'm kind of like, oh no, like, what do I say? What do I do? And I put it off. And then it's kind of one of those tricky things where the more you put it off, the more it gets awkward to respond. So please don't do that. The interviews are also usually quite time sensitive. There's usually like a cutoff day that they have to submit their report about you by. So it's important to reply to the email promptly. And here is an example of what you can say. This is actually what I said to my Harvard interview, but show interest, say yes, and confirm the time, and just be polite. Don't just send a one-line email or, as I said, put it off. Just respond, set it up, and go forth. So once you have your interview set up, you need to start doing research. There are a couple of different things that I would highly recommend you do. So the first thing is to research the school. A lot of people want to go to Ivy League schools. So this is kind of advice for every school. If you want to go to Harvard and you're going to your Harvard interview, don't turn up and be like, wow, like I saw Legally Blonde and I really like the color crimson and it's Harvard, like why would I not want to go? Like, this is all very non-specific and kind of implies that you're only going there for the name brand. The key thing is to really hone in on why Harvard and why you. And to do this, I would recommend that you look into specific courses that they have at Harvard that you're interested in. Maybe research some professors that you think would be great mentors. Harvard has really specific organizations and clubs that you might really be interested in joining. There might be traditions that you think are really cool that you want to be a part of. There are so many different specific things that you can mention. And yeah, it might take a while to find the specific things that you're interested in, but I would say that this is really time worth investing because it shows again that you have a genuine interest. The next piece of research is to look into the interviewer. Now, I'm not saying to stalk them. That is not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is to figure out, what class they're in. Usually in the email, they might tell you that. And also to find out what they're doing right now. What do they work in? What do they study? How do they get there? And some of this you won't know, but what this will help you do is form some questions that you could ask the interviewer during your interview. This is kind of something that you might learn along the way as you do more and more interviews for jobs, or if you've already done internships. You always want to know who you're talking to so that you can relate to them. For example, if you find out that your interviewer works at, a movie company, as someone who wants to be a filmmaker, I might say, wow, well, I saw that your company made the film last year. How is that? It doesn't always have to be specifically to do with Harvard. It could be about any aspect of them. And asking questions about people really opens them up to you. Finally, I would say prepare some talking points about yourself. There might be little things that you weren't able to reflect in your application, or there might be things in your application that you mentioned that you want to go into more detail about during the interview. And so this is a perfect opportunity for you to to tell anecdotes, to open up about your family background, your history. The interviewer doesn't know anything about you, and so this is a really great way for you to share information about yourself in a way that feels genuine, and also to not regurgitate everything that you've said in your application. You want to make sure that you're adding and you're not repeating constantly. Okay, so now that we've done all the prep work, you're probably thinking, so what do I do on the day? On the day of the interview, I would recommend just trying to relax, which I know is much easier said than done. Actually, it's really funny. I remember on the way to my Harvard interview, I was taking the train, I was on my own, and I was so nervous. And I did power poses. I was literally like stretching out like this and listening to music that I like. Do what it takes to make you feel calm. Something else is to turn up early. This is, again, interview 101. And if you have never done an interview before, don't worry. I was in that spot. I hadn't really done an interview before. And so just make sure you turn up at least 5 minutes early, if not earlier than that. You can always wait outside or even wait inside. Like, they're not going to be upset if you turn up a bit early, you know? So definitely just don't be late. And if for whatever reason you are late, please tell them as soon as you know that you're going to be late. Don't just turn up 20 minutes late, because it will look really disrespectful. And then during the interview. So during the interview, there are a couple of questions that I think will definitely come up. The key question is, tell me about yourself. So the tell me about yourself question is common in pretty much every interview you might do, whether it's a job interview, internship, or admissions interview for a college. And so the tell me about yourself interview, I like to think as kind of like a trailer for a movie. So a trailer for a movie is sprinkling in all the little nuggets that seem so cool and will allow the interviewer time later to ask you questions. You want to keep this tell me about yourself answer pretty brief. You just want to kind of skim each point that you want to later come back to, and it will give the interviewer an initial idea of who you are so that they can then start to dive into that idea more and more. Don't feel like you have to bog yourself down and go into some specific thing. I would just try and give almost like an overview. And this might be the kind of thing that you would want to prepare ahead of time, in the sense that you would just want to know what you would say. For example, I would say where I'm from, where do I study, what do I want to do, maybe some of my hobbies, and also like if I know what I want to study at school, like potentially mention that, maybe what aspirations you have, all of these different things. You can include whatever you want, but I would try and focus on who you are instead of at this point bringing Harvard into the picture. I think that if you do some preparation, you could do a really good job setting yourself up for success in the interview. Another thing is to make sure that the interview is two-way. This interview is not supposed to be you giving like a Shakespearean monologue about yourself and how amazing you are. It's supposed to be a conversation, and actually the Harvard interviewer will be able to assess a lot about your personality based on whether or not you're easy to make a conversation with. Remember that they're trying to fit people who will be a great addition not only to the classroom, but also to the social life, to the community. Harvard especially is really focused on community. A lot of the Ivy Leagues are. One of the main things you'll see on Harvard's campus is make Harvard home. And like the way that the campus is set up is very focused on building community. So I would say really try to ask questions from the interviewer. Show a genuine interest in what they're saying. If they mention something, try to really ask them questions as if you were asking your friend questions, or if you were asking your parents questions, you know? Try to show that you're really interested in them. And I say that because I really think you should be interested, but if for whatever reason you're not, maybe that's a bad sign for you, I don't know. Really just turn up and be open to having a dialogue with this person. Going off of what I said of a two-way conversation is to ask questions. If there is a lull in the conversation, if you feel like there's nothing left to say, bring in something from one of your talking points or ask them a question so that the conversation keeps flowing nicely. This is really important, and it's a great skill to have as you go on with your life, but definitely in interview situations where it's already stressful enough, you want to make sure that there isn't a lot of dead space, because that might reflect poorly on your ability to converse. And then after the interview, hopefully all the nerves have dissipated, I would say that you need to send them a thank you note. So the thank you note can happen hopefully the same day of your interview, and you just want to send them a short email that just says, thank you so much for taking the time to interview me, I had a really great time. But be specific. Again, if they're interviewing multiple people, they probably get a lot of these thank you notes, and they've probably seen a lot of thank you notes in that time. Be specific about something that happened during your interview. For example, I really appreciate appreciated you telling me about the time that you did blah blah blah. But I really appreciated you answering my questions about something. It gave me a lot to think about. This way they know that you enjoyed the conversation and that you got something out of it. And it's also a great quality that you're remembering things from the interview. After that, I would try not to pester the interview. Don't try and maintain some sort of dialogue with them. They are then going to write their report and send it off to the admissions committee, and that's basically the final part of your application done and dusted. So try not to kind of force something that isn't supposed to happen. And yeah, I guess this is the time where you can sit back, relax, and unless the admissions committee reaches out to you for some reason, you're pretty much done, and you just have to wait a couple of months to see if the magic happened. So yeah, I think that this is a really great place for us to take a pause, and I really appreciate you guys watching this video. I hope it was helpful, and I do know it's interview season, so please leave some comments down below and ask me any question you want so that I can help you help yourself in this process. Please feel free to subscribe, like, and I hope to see you guys again soon.